Give me the mayor. Give me the mayor.
6 months after Daniel Prude, a 41-year-old black man, died after an encounter with Rochester police officers, the city's police chief and entire command staff announced suddenly that they were retiring. Chief Laurent Singletary, a 22-year veteran with the force, accused his critics of trying to destroy his character and integrity over the death of Prude, who lost consciousness after police held him down with a hood over his head. The incident led to violent protests and calls for police reform.
Chief Singletary will remain in charge of the department through the end of the month, and I know that he and the officers will fulfill their duties.
From Colorado to New York City to Seattle, police officers are resigning or retiring early in unprecedented numbers. The push to defund police departments, massive budget cuts, and calls for police reform have left officers demoralized and demonized. So they are walking off the job. In Seattle, this video goes viral after a police officer tells a Black Lives Matter protester that he's quitting.
Don't worry, man, because guess what? I'm leaving. You guys won. 2 months, baby. I'm out.
You're about to resign?
Gone, bro.
How you feeling about that? You're about to resign?
I'm feeling great.
In Chicago, where 24 police officers retires on average each month, 51 are scheduled to leave this month after 59 left in August, more than 100 over just 2 months. The head of a police pension fund in Chicago calling the retirements unheard of. In New York City, which has experienced huge spikes in violence this summer, a record 179 officers filed for retirement in July, compared to the 35 who left the job the same time last year. The majority of those officers leaving after Mayor Bill de Blasio cut $1 billion from the department's budget.
A 5 to 10% reduction in a police budget means that they're going to lose some law enforcement personnel, because the personnel portion of the budget is the most significant part of the police budget. So that impacts police services, that impacts public safety.
In Colorado, more than 200 officers resign after the state there passes a police reform bill. In Austin, Texas, the number of police officers and cadets leaving the force has more than doubled since 2017. It jumped another 34% in the first 6 months of this year compared to 2019. Research also shows that nationwide experienced police officers are retiring at a faster rate than ever before.
People who aren't eligible for retirement rarely will leave and leave that retirement on the table. So it's people who are eligible for retirement, and maybe they were going to stay 5 more years, but based on concerns they have, they decide to leave sooner. So you are losing the most experienced people.
It's a similar story playing out in other big and small cities, prompting the Police Executive Research Forum to declare a workforce crisis as police departments across the country face the challenge of recruiting new officers and holding on to the ones they have.
It takes about a year to a year and a half to hire a new police officer, and for that person to be ready to go in the field and function and do those duties.
One fallout from the police exodus in the last few months has been exploding crime rates. The latest stats from the National Commission on COVID-19 and Criminal Justice show homicides up in big cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Chicago. Around the same time, officers around the country were deciding to leave the job. While months of protests over policing tactics appear to be taking a toll on some of those who signed up to serve and protect our communities, Dr. Oliver, a retired police chief, says the profession of policing is a noble one.
It's more criticized, it's more publicly visible than it's ever been, but I still think it's a good profession, a noble profession, a desirable profession, and it's one that should be sought by people who want to make a difference in their communities.
Still, tensions continue to boil 4 months after the death of George Floyd. From coast to coast, demonstrators are on the streets demanding an end to police brutality. George Thomas, CBN News.